I'm sure a lot of you guys saw California Farmer's video on his channel talking about the air blast sprayer that they use in almonds. Well, this is an orchard sprayer. The tractor's a 5520. It's the narrow series. It fits down some pretty tight row spacings. It's probably the last year we have it. It's starting to run up on 5,000 hours, but it's always been a spray tractor. I'll show you the controls real fast for it. We don't run electronics in any of our sprayers. We have one that runs off a PTO that runs hydraulics, but this one's just a really basic slide system. So on the back of the sprayer, right there and right there is each a diesel tank. So I can swap what tank I'm running on. It can run 4 tanks as it sits right now with how much it can hold. There's a kill switch here for when you're done. This is your throttle, because this sprayer was different from this sprayer compared to California Farmers, which is why I chose to talk about this sprayer, is this one doesn't run off a PTO. There's an engine that is in the front part of the sprayer. So this is the throttle that controls the power you're putting to the pump. And then you can throttle up here to how fast you're gonna go, and that'll set your speed. And then each one of these controls a set of nozzles. There's a set of nozzles on the left side and the right side of the sprayer. So if I'm going and I decide that, if I'm going on an outside row, maybe I'm just gonna turn on the right side of the sprayer. If I'm going on, or I can turn on the left side of the sprayer. I don't need to run both at the same time. In here, I'll run out this tubing and out into the sprayer. On right here on the front side, I watchalize this product tube. This sprayer can hold 500 gallons. It's set up to do 50 gallons an acre, so I can run about 10 acres with this. I have the pressure gauge here. You want to run it around 150 psi. I run the tractor at about 17.25 RPMs. That gets me about 3.5 miles an hour, which is what this whole setup is calibrated for. Now we kind of move to the back of the sprayer. Here are the nozzles. So each one of those levers I can pull runs each side of nozzles. So there's eight nozzles on either side. And right now we have these top 2 turned off. Normally we have some turned all the way on. Sometimes we have 3 off, 4 off. It all depends on what we're in. If I'm at a block like this, I usually run 1 nozzle off. Some of the high density, I'm running 3 nozzles off. And some of these bigger trees, I'm running all the nozzles on, so I can get all the way up there. And basically kind of the same idea that California Farmer is saying. I'll open this up and show you in here. But instead of the power being delivered by a PTO to the pump, this engine delivers the power to the pump, and which spins this fan. This fan then takes the PSI that's coming out of these nozzles and sprays it in that nice pattern you see when I post on Instagram, a photo of me spraying or a little video or something. And we have these 2 turned off all the time, and that's only because really we're not trying to shoot anything. This nozzle is a D2, and it gets to a pattern that's low enough to where we don't need to turn these bottom 2 on. That's just wasting product at that point. If I want to, I can flip these nozzles all the way around, and that'll get me to that. The back side of these nozzles are turned on to 100 gallons an acre. We really only use 100 gallons an acre if we're thinning. Anything other than that, it's not really used for. Really back here is just a small area, and really we just watch this belt on the agitator. And the agitator keeps the product mixed in the tank at all times. That way we're putting in wettable powders, we're putting in liquids, water soluble pouches, and if that's not always getting mixed, it can fall out of the solution. When we first started mixing, I'll show you, there's a little valve in here. You turn that on, and there's a spray bar that runs across the top. And it actually has perforated holes in the bottom and shoots out water. So whatever I'm throwing in the tank is being dissolved down into the tank by the water pressure that's shooting out of this little spray bar. And you can see it's all meshed in the inside. That way you can see some rocks and stuff in there. And that's just so nothing gets down in that tank and get everything all clogged up. Now yesterday I had about a 20-minute breakdown because I had about 3 of these nozzles that were plugged up. And that happens over time, and you can see there's a lot of stuff on the back of the sprayer. And I clean these nozzles normally before any big spray. I'll come in and then there's a little mesh screen in the inside. Then there's a little disc. Then you have the nozzle cover and you have your nozzle. And they're really small, especially you can see it's got a little bit of a bigger hole, but it's really these ones that have a little bit of a smaller hole. And the reason they're different sizes, that's because how we have it calibrated. All these different sizes equal up at what the speed we're running, and the PSI we're running, to 50 gallons an acre to get us the coverage exactly what we're looking for. So when I open it up, you can see that the engine's green. That's because it's the exact same motor that's ran in this tractor. It's a John Deere 5520. So it's really nice, it's real simple, it's really easy to get to. The only problem and the difference between an engine-driven sprayer and a PTO-driven sprayer is if you have an engine-driven sprayer, not only are they more expensive, but a lot more can go wrong with them. We're trying to get away from these. These were good for bigger trees back in the day because they have more air pressure than the PTO sprayers, but the PTO sprayers they're just easy. You turn them on, you go. They're a lot cheaper, easier to maintain, and you got a lot going on here. So first of all, we'll go back to this hose that runs all these lines. So right here, these slides are what control each side of your nozzles. So this hose runs back all the way to the back to the nozzles. You slide these on, and you get one side to turn on. A problem with these is every once in a while, right here, this will blow off because of the pressure. The pressure becomes too great and blows it right off. Also, another problem we've had is this is probably the 4th or 5th solenoid. We know every once in a while it's going out because here's our control panel on the front, and this is a safety switch, and you go to turn the sprayer off, and it just won't shut off. So this is about the 4th, 5th solenoid that's on it. But the air filter is real easy to get to. The oil filter is easy to get to. That's on the other side. The only real problem with this tractor is we put this mesh on down here so no sticks or anything would get up in here. And the biggest problem is the oil pan's right there, and the drain plug is horrible to get to. It is one of the most difficult things. You got the pump sitting down here. This is I think it's the original pump that's actually in here. And this is what I was talking about earlier that controls that spray bar. So you turn this on when you start mixing. You turn it off when you're going to spray, but when it's on, it turns the spray bar on to help you mix the product in. I'll show you real quick with here's the PTO sprayer. We have the lines plugged into the ports. It's run off the PTO. It's got a pressure gauge and a product line, but it's just way simpler. I mean, there's no engine or anything. You just have the tank. This one's a little bit cleaner. This one really does grapes, not a whole bunch of apples. This is set up for grapes right now. That's why these chutes are both facing up to get the cord on. And in the inside of these, this one's a little bit messy, but you have your agitator down there, you got your pump in the back. We can switch this from high to low. If we're doing apples, we're gonna put it high. Low, if we're gonna be in grapes. This one too has a spray bar, it's just up here. This one's a lot easier. Well, no, this one's a little bit more harder to winterize. It's a little bit more to it. The big one is a lot easier to winterize, but for general maintenance, I mean, you grease it, you make sure you got oil in the pump, and this thing is basically bulletproof. I mean, we've ran this for a long time. It's run a lot of acres. It's still calibrated almost perfectly in at 10 acres. Both of them are. So I mean, both these sprayers, a lot of time orchard sprayers, you don't see guys switch them up too much. You basically keep them till they die, because at this point sprayers are used so hard, chemicals are so corrosive, that there's not many people looking for used sprayers. There's some people, but there's not a lot. Both the sprayers we run are D&W sprayers. They're just, you can put anybody in them. They're real easy to learn. Like I said, you know, they're just absolutely bulletproof. This one's actually pulled by the 5525, but next year, depending on what's going to happen, this tractor may be pulling the big sprayer, and there may be something different pulling this PT up.